Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. Sean Woodland, Tommy Marquez, and the official friend of the show, Brian Friend, here in the flesh. How you doing, man?
Hard to be better than this. I mean, this is one of the best days of competition we've had.
Oh, it's awesome.
One day, teams are going after it, and it sets up for an incredible weekend.
I've already cut the wrong cameras, so we're off to a great start.
Hey.
All right, now I'm just going to leave it right there.
Oh.
So I'm trying to do two things at once.
Okay.
How was your day, man?
My day was long.
Yeah, we had long days today.
Oof, it was, there's Adonis.
That's okay.
We're filming.
It's live
It's all
TV. He's right in the middle of the shot. It's
We're
all good.
recording.
Yeah, we're live right now.
You're
That was Adonis, everybody. Say hi, friend of the show, Adonis.
That was phenomenal.
That was great. What, me? Now? I don't believe you.
That's the best.
We're live right now? Yes, I don't believe you.
Bing, bang, boom. You're fired, Ron. You're fired. Bing, bang, boom. The best part is he freezes.
Yeah. What? Yeah, I did that actually on live TV one time. I walked in front of a camera on a newscast, so I was in a hurry, and I just.
Hey.
Anyway,
happens.
how was your day, Tommy?
My day was good. The unintended byproduct, well, I guess intended, of a long day of competition with lots of events and lots up for grabs and a lot of action means that it's a long day for the media side, too. So we have people working basically wire to wire, getting after it from top to bottom, behind the scenes in the truck, event team, volunteers, runners, all that good stuff. And that's nonstop. They're working as hard as the athletes are. So hats off to everyone. Our desk show, we did, another hour for CBS Sports Network, but that was recording all day, and then we did Day at the Games multiple times. We had guests all over the place. It was a good time.
That's great, man. Yeah, I saw you guys up there. I was for events 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah,
man, we did not leave that space. And by like heat 3 of event 7, there was like a DEFCON 5 emergency going on in the old bladder. If you know what I mean? I was like, I wonder if in a minute I can run to the bathroom and make it. And I hightailed it out of there after event number 8 because we had a break before 9. But it was good. Brian, how was your day?
Oh, great day. I mean, I got to spectate a lot today. Got to do a little bit of commentary and some other roles that I have, and wrote a little bit for Morning Chalk Up. But
Friend of the show.
That's right. But mostly just took it all in, trying to identify which athletes are probably most likely to continue to excel over the next 6 events.
All right. We are in the Mobile Whoop Studios. We actually have our Mobile Whoop Studio shirts on. Our Talking Elite Fitness Gone Camping edition.
Camping shirt. I'm going to square up to the camera there.
Okay, I'll punch you up here. Boom.
Ooh, yeah, punch me up. We were wearing these last night as well in different colorways, so we're really exploring the full.
Yeah, you had the one I had on, and now I am wearing the red version here.
We'll call that one Crimson Dawn.
Crimson Dawn? Is that honestly what it's called?
No, but I was thinking about it because think about it.
Die Hard.
It's a crimson.
Crimson Dawn. I read about them in Forbes.
It's a beautiful crimson shirt, and imagine you're waking up at the trailer park and you see us two just standing outside, just Sean's watering the grass, and I'm having a wobbly pop.
That's what we do.
So yeah, these shirts will be going up soon. You'll be able to snag them.
TalkingEliteFitness.com.
Yep, you got it.
All right, let's check in on the Whoop numbers because we usually live in the red during this week. Now I had a false activity that registered, so I have an 18.6 day strain, but that is not what happened. But I got me about 4 hours of sleep last night, so that was good.
Whoa.
Felt good waking up. I'm at 24% recovery, but like I said, my day strain a little bit off because I think my Whoop was a little loose this morning. Got some of that Madison sun in there. Said my heart rate got up to 183 as I was walking around. That did not happen.
Damn.
So
Anyway,
be advised if you're a Whoop user, make sure that thing's nice and tight.
Were exciting, but 183 is
yeah. I was gonna say, well, let's see. I'm 56% recovered. I've been hanging tough in the mid yellows. 11.5 day strain so far. I got 5 hours and 52 minutes of sleep last night.
Not bad.
Tiffany came in, so she is here now.
Lovely fiance is here.
Lovely fiance.
Got to meet her. I've been waiting.
Yeah, I know it's been a while. Unfortunately, she just had to go return an e-bike that she thought you could just take and have. Apparently, you have to return those things.
Whoops-a-daisy.
Thankfully, she got a push.
You mean I just don't buy this from this rack for $1? That's amazing.
But her work alarm went off this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was rough. I would have got another hour and a half of sleep, but it's all good. It was worth it.
All right. Well, if you guys want to check out Whoop, they are the official wearable of CrossFit. They actually provided us with some cool heart rate data today on the broadcast in events 6 and 7. That was really awesome to see sort of how the athletes were managing their heart rates, and that was really cool. And that was the kind of stuff when I heard that they were going to be the official wearable. That's the stuff I was excited about, because there's all kinds of like really good stuff that you can incorporate into a broadcast with that wearable. But head to whoop.com, WHOOP.com, and use our code. It's Talking15, and you will save 15%, and you will optimize the way that you train and recover. Today's episode is sponsored by, I got to get my script up here.
Oh,
as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, we have some of our UCAN product out here. They got a booth here at the games. If you're here and you haven't checked them out, please do. They're amazing, but they're a company obsessed with the science of health and performance. UCAN was originally created for a child who had a rare metabolic disorder, and clinical studies determined that UCAN products help athletes maintain high levels of energy for extended periods of time. The studies determined that superstarch increases focus, prevents fatigue, and prevents the dreaded post-workout food binge. Superstarch is a patented, slow-releasing complex carbohydrate that delivers steady, long-lasting energy without triggering an insulin response or causing an insulin dump. It moves through your stomach quickly, so you will not feel weighed down during a workout. If you usually work out fasted, you'll experience energy levels that carry through an entire workout, and throughout the rest of the day.
Oh man,
yeah.
So, So we have the UCAN Edge here on.
Yes, you know what? I need to take that with me. I have not been bringing my UCAN with me. I'm going to take a few of those for tomorrow.
I've been putting 2 in my bag every single day, and there's usually a gap time where like we're in between lunch and dinner for when they serve us, and I got like another 2 shows left, and I'm like, all right, I got to get this. It's like, sets me right. And actually, today I think I forgot even to eat lunch, and I felt great. Yeah,
I need to do that because
it's
it makes a huge
incredible
difference.
how easy a meal can slip you by.
Oh man, you blink.
Mm-hmm.
Like I firmly believe that at the CrossFit Games, the hours between 11:15 and like 3:45 don't exist.
Yeah.
You're like,
it's like being in Vegas and you're in the building and all of a sudden you time travel.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've had a few of those.
UCAN bars and energy powders are trusted by more than 80 colleges, 40 pro teams, Olympic marathoners, elite triathletes, cyclists, group fitness coaches, thought leaders in health and performance, boxers, MMA fighters, and Scott Panchak and Emily Rolfe, 2 athletes who are competing at the CrossFit Games, and Fee Sagafi, who almost made it into the CrossFit Games in the last year's qualifier.
Yeah,
Is she here?
She's here.
Love me some Fee Sagafi. She's good people.
She's awesome people.
Yeah.
Cheering on her friends and fellow competitors,
Yeah.
and including Scott Panchak.
Yep.
Who's doubled down on his career event wins this year.
He has.
From 1 to 3.
Yep.
So,
I was going to say triple down.
And we'll get to this. I'll get to that stat in a second, but we'll finish this with UCAN. So if you are on site here in Madison, go to the UCAN booth. Check those guys out. They've been super good to us. They provided us with this great product that we are definitely going to partake in. Or we are going to partake? I guess that's the... My brain is kind of fried right now.
So is mine.
It's like 11 p.m. at night here.
It's all good though. That's what we bought. We brought the big brains on.
That's why we got the brains of the organization. Head to ucan.co/elite. Use the code ELITE, and you'll save 20% on your first order. ucan.co/elite, and use the code ELITE to save 20% on your first order. I love their stuff. I'm not going to forget to take it tomorrow because I need to be I'm hitting a little bit of a wall here. 2 days remaining. Got to finish strong. Okay, let's. We're going to talk about the women first, right?
Yep.
Because, I got to call up my leaderboard here because I got to use my phone because for whatever reason my computer is not on the old Wi-Fi. But at the top of the leaderboard, things going more or less as expected. As Tia Toomey.
She out here.
She out here doing it again, getting it. She has 861 points. So she has that triple-digit lead that she could take an event off, and she would still be your leader.
She's won more than half the events. She's won 5 out of the 4.
She's 4 out of the 5. 5 out of the 9.
5 out of the 9. Jesus, I can't think either. Wow, we're getting punchy here.
Oh, unbelievable! But
quick maths.
But not quite as dominant as she was on day 1.
Yeah.
And, in large part, that's because several of the other women have stepped up today and performed when they needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, this is where I got to give Brian Friend a pat on the back. Laura Horvath in second place, a woman you picked to finish on the podium. And there she is with 723 points. She's the only athlete above 700 other than Tia Toomey. And then Kristen Houlton, the leader of the League of Shadows, is in third with 684, but only 6 points up on Amanda Barnhart, who closed out with an event win in event number 9. She has 678 points, and then Brooke Wells is 18 points back of her in fifth at 660. Haley Adams 2 points back of Brooke Wells in sixth place. Haley had a kind of up and down day, was able to stop the bleeding after those two back-to-back events that hurt her chances, but now she's in sixth place. So, Brian, to you first. Like I said, I got to pat you on the back for Laura Horvath. Why was it that you thought she was going to finish on the podium? Because I think a lot of people just didn't believe it because of maybe it was recency bias. Maybe we just we haven't seen what we needed to see from her. But what was it about her that that made you think that she really had a chance to do this?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it prior to the game's beginning that since the breakout year in 2018, she hasn't put together an entire competition like she did that season. And, we know that she's had some things going on in her personal life, emotionally and mentally, that it hasn't always been as dialed in, and she's had some distractions. But I think a lot of people get caught up in the fact that she has one hole in her game, and everyone knows that. And you lose sight of the fact that pretty much everything else, she's really good. She's obviously very strong, but the rest of her gymnastics is not bad. I mean, even if you look at 2018, 30 muscle-ups per time, she was right in the mix with all the other women. And then you think about endurance events, grunt work events. She's better than you'd think given her body type.
Yeah.
And when you put all the physical attributes plus the fact that she seems to be in a good place. We talked about how she has Ben Smith in her corner. She got over here to the U.S. pretty early this year. It seemed like training camp was going really, really well. Talked to her brother prior to the competition. He said she's very healthy. All of these things just added up to someone who I thought could threaten for that second place position. There's still 6 events to go. There's Dave's got some tricks up his sleeve, and there's nothing is a given. But she's in a great position right now, and I think that confidence that she has going into this weekend and the experience that she has in 2018 that she can draw on of knowing that she knows how to close out a games weekend bodes well for her to finish out pretty strong.
And I like how she's mitigating some of the damage and some of the bad events too. You look at the first, the second, the third. The handful of the top 10 finishes. But, like, the bad event is like a 19th versus like a 25th, the 28th, a 30th.
Right.
Where there's an extra, 20 or 30 points that just kind of fall off the back end that you see from some of these other athletes. And I think that's an improvement on where she's been comparative to last year. Now, we still haven't seen the elephant in the room with the handstand push-ups and specifically the strict or any sort of deficit variation. And we don't know if they're coming or not. But at least right now, in the other events, she's taking advantage enough to build a buffer against that. And I think that's also important because, the one thing that Chase was talking about in the opening event today on the field is her body language is different. You can see it in how she carries herself, and as she was attacking the skier and then the transition into the stone, she just looks like she has a little bit of bounce in her step again, and the run for the clean event too. You can tell. Like, she just seems to be a little bit more comfortable where she's at versus, almost kind of looking over your shoulder like, man, I have this target on my back because I was second place now and everybody's expecting me to do well. And it's nice to see her kind of start to revamp and retool a little bit and be back in the podium hunt.
Let's go to Kristen Houlton now in third. Had her worst finish of the competition with a 30th in event 9, and I think she was up by more than 40 points on Laura Horvath. Now trails her by... Now I have to math.
Maybe we can help you out.
39.
30, is it 39? Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Quick
by
maths.
39. Appreciate that. But throw that one out, and nothing worse than a 15th place finish, and that was in event 7. And she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 finishes inside the top 10. This is very typical of Kristen Houlton. She's getting better with age.
Yeah, and you look at like last year where she finished just a couple points out of the top 5, and then we come to find out she has herniated discs and back injuries she's been dealing with. And then earlier that year, she got surgery to fix carpal tunnel coming off of her second place finish. And she's actually been dealing with some of these nagging injuries for a long time. And I think one of the positive things that came out of the pandemic for her was that it gave her time to step back and refocus on getting herself and her body healthy, where she would have been competing throughout the entirety of the season, going to sanctionals and things like that. And so now we get to see, even though she's technically a masters athlete now, we get to see her continue to be strong at the top of the sport, even as she approaches the same age that like Sam Briggs and some of those other athletes are that are double the age of someone like Mal O'Brien or Emma Carey that are on the other end of the spectrum. That's what's crazy to me. You add Emma and Mal together, and they're still a year younger than Kristen Houlton.
That is nuts.
And she's right now, she's teaching the young bucks a thing or two.
Well,
I love it.
Basically, what she's shown us over the course of these 9 events is that there's a very specific thing that she has the potential to struggle with, and it's a high power output relative to this field. But she handled the barbells fine, and she handled the long. We know she's going to handle the long stuff fine. We know she's going to handle the gymnastics fine. I was really impressed with her in the event this morning, which I thought would generally favor a longer athlete. Having that little extra wingspan, that little extra power on all the rope climb, the ski erg, and that sandbag was no joke. Like, you had to get a decent grip on that. And her, and there were a couple others, like Yona Koski on the men's side, for example, that it didn't seem to affect them. So that one event, 30th in the final tonight, to me, I think that's like good for her that's out of the way. And especially just looking forward to the next event, running in Toes to Bar, 3 miles of running. Like, we could pretty much expect the top 5 finish on that. So I think she's going to get back on track. I did not expect her to be in the podium hunt at this point in the weekend, or maybe not at all this week, but she's certainly proven me wrong in the similar way that Laura Horvath has proven me right so far.
Yeah.
Let me give you a name that really stood out to me today. Gabriella Magala, who goes 2nd in event 5, 6th in event 6, 3rd in event 7, had a 23rd in event 8, but then 11th in event 9, and now she is in 9th place, 606 points. And let's see, only how many points out? She's 78 points out of 3rd?
We were a year too early, Brian. We were a year too. Well, Brian and I were talking about it last year. How, based on what we saw at like Dubai and a handful of the other competitions, we thought that she maybe this last year could have been her breakout year, but things were a little muted, obviously with the stage 1 and stage 2, and the rapidly changing scenarios. But I mean, we saw shades of this. Half a world away when she was hanging tough with some of the best in a very stout Dubai competition where they had a nice mix and breadth of tests there as well. And it seemed like I think she was the only athlete there that didn't have a finish outside the top 10 or maybe top 8. Yeah, it was 11, even better than that.
11 scored events, nothing worse than 8th.
Yeah.
And I was talking with her camp this morning, and as soon as they found out that those were not legless rope climbs, it was like hallelujah. But she said, I'm going to crush this event. And she did. And then when we saw events 6 and 7 revealed, when I trained with her last week, I saw her do this clean complex at 235, and I was like, she could stand these weights up with the best of them. And she did that back to back. And at this point, you're talking about someone who's pretty young, who wasn't that happy with how last season went. And like I said, I think that it's a big deal when you are able to string a couple of great events together like that, just for the mental aspect of it. Yeah. And then really, one of the aspects of today's events was just execution and just managing the one workout on the day, because there was a variety of things tested today that wasn't going to be your strength. And she knew that handstand walk, she wasn't going to be a top 5 on that one, but Medeiros talked about it after that event. It was just about not making mistakes. And the people who could make the least mistakes, wherever you fall on the leaderboard, were the ones who would benefit the most from that. And she just ran her race on that one, managed it. I think, was she middle of the pack on that?
She was 23rd, about middle of the pack.
Towards the back. A lot of people have
and that one was a little misleading because really, like you said, execution was big. You could be right there with 4 or 5 people, and then one mistake on the the parallel bars, the parallettes, were just would knock you 5, 6, 7 spots. It adds 30, 40 seconds on because you have to reset, and then you wasted a bunch of energy, in your shoulders, especially towards the back end. But I mean, a tremendous job because today was stout. 500 points up for grabs. A lot of time just spent out in competition mode. Like, that's one of the mental aspects of it. You're just out competing for so long because you start in the North Park, you spend some time in the Coliseum. You're moving around. You're just warming up, cooling down the entirety of the day. And if you're a young athlete or you're someone that maybe isn't used to it, because like Gabby hasn't been on this stage quite because she got cut early last time. Yeah, in 2019. You get into gray area, unfamiliar waters, and
Gabby has one kind of weakness, and it's upper body pulling. Well, rope climbs are out of the way, and they weren't legless. Muscle ups are out of the way. The only potential thing that's looming that's probably upper body pulling is a pegboard. So she's kind of like checking the boxes in terms of removing the things that are most detrimental to her continuing to excel. I think that this weekend sets up well for her.
Yeah.
What else stood out to you that we didn't talk about here about the women's competition today? I'll just throw one out there. Like Annie Thorsdottir in 8th to me is super impressive.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're still less than a year removed from her giving birth, and I get it. Every birth story is different, and every situation is a little bit different. But I wrote this, in our women's article leading up to it. Like, people have a new reason to root for Annie. Like, she's always been like the front runner, the happy smile, smiling. Iceland Annie that we're used to as she crosses the finish line very gracefully. But, she's had to deal with some adversity coming off the heels of her birth, along with the joys of obviously being a new mother. And she was open about it. And that that candidness is something I think a lot of people admired. And for her to, 12 years, 13 years later, still being in this position is unheard of. Absolutely unheard of.
And similarly to a lot of the other athletes that have been around a long time, specifically I'm thinking of Scott Panchak, she seems to be enjoying this as much as any CrossFit game she's ever been a part of. It's incredibly refreshing to see her out there, and then to see that she still has that capacity to push like she did on the final event today. I mean, you have to be willing to hurt on that workout. I can't think of a better workout for Amanda Barnhart, and Annie gave her everything she had.
Yeah, that was nice to see. It was interesting. Amanda Barnhart had some bright moments today, and obviously she's in 4th. And right before that event, I said Amanda needs to come out and just stomp the gas. Like one of the things I was hoping to see in the clean event earlier, and especially the heavy one, was a little bit of killer instinct. Amanda, I don't know what it was. I don't want to be too critical here. Didn't struggle even in the slightest with any of those cleans.
Yeah.
But she set up and prepared as if she was getting ready for a struggle. She kind of sauntered in, and there were a couple moments where she could maybe throttle up and try and chase Laura or one of the other athletes that she knew were either going to have to go a little bit more belabored power clean or maybe pull underneath into a squat. And a couple times I said to Annie Sakamoto when we were standing up there watching, I'm like, there's a chance. You got to go for it there because like, deadbeat tired, she's going to be able to power clean and pull that, up to her rib cage and get under it. And I don't know, like, do you think Amanda Barnhart has that killer instinct in there?
That's a good question. I felt like
I haven't seen it yet.
I saw a little bit of it tonight, and I think that's something maybe she's working on, like confidence in that.
I think it's because the problem is that when you talk about killer instinct, the kind of the pinnacle of that is Tia. And it's probably unfair to compare people to that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've seen it like I have with Tia.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it with anybody like I've seen it with Tia.
Tia's got like that. It's like palpable.
Yeah.
When Tia smells blood in the water. And I asked because it kind of came into my head. Obviously, Amanda was dealing with the ankle injury on the heavy clean that one year. But I was just kind of like thinking back about moments where, because she was the last person to beat Tia in a heavy lifting event. That was in 2018. But I'm trying to think of other opportunities where she could have stomped the gas like that. And it was nice to see her do that, almost kind of like the other side of the coin here, and get into a race with Annie and put it down. But
I don't know. I've been phenomenally impressed with her, especially today. I think she managed those two clean events well. Maybe she could have taken a little bit more of a risk, but 4th and 4th is probably just about as good as anyone did on that outside of Tia Claire Toomey.
Yeah, that's one where she has something in her back pocket in the ability to power clean upper echelon weights that almost nobody else can. And in that instance, I almost feel like the risk versus reward in terms of taking a chance on that clean, or maybe pushing the run a little bit more, and who knows what her body's going through. That's also, to be fair to her as well. That's one where like you almost want to grab that last bar, knowing that, I mean, she almost muscle cleaned that last bar.
Yeah,
it was insane.
Yeah, because she set up to that. I was like, oh, she's going to squat clean. This is going to be a fight. It was like boom, and dropped it and went. I went, oh,
like her right foot barely moved.
Yeah,
it like slid out a little bit, but that was it. And if that's the case, I almost want. And this is, this is my own personal opinion, obviously. I almost want her to approach the bar like seeing 3 bars, like at that point. Like I want you to run so hard.
Grab the one in the middle.
Yeah, and grab the one in the middle, just because like that's where she's going to be able to make up the time.
All right, what else? What else? I mean,
for me,
Go ahead.
You got it. I just have a moment, so go for it.
Okay, we'll get to you first, and we'll do Tommy's moment.
What I notice here when I look at the women's leaderboard is Christy Aramo and Emma Tall are sitting 7th and 14th. And those are the two women that qualified via the last chance qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
And when this whole season was laid out, there were a lot of people that were wondering. Some were pretty confident. Some were a little skeptical about how the last chance qualifiers would factor into the CrossFit Games weekend. And, in the case of Emma, it was a little different of why she had to do the last chance qualifier than Christy. But regardless of that, they both got that opportunity and they're capitalizing on it. It looks like they're both going to make it through all of the cuts at this point and get to continue the weekend. And I think that's a testament to CrossFit implementing that last opportunity this season, because Fraser used to talk about how that semifinal weekend, or when it was a regional weekend, like if something goes wrong, that's your one and only chance, and then your whole season and everything you train for can just be gone, and sometimes it's not necessarily your fault. There's something out of your control. So to have that little extra thing built in there, at least on the women's side this year, is having a major impact on the weekend and paying off.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, it's a great point. And, I mean, Christy was as high as 3rd today.
Yeah.
And you look at tomorrow morning, and a
lot of running.
It's like grip strength, midline, and a ton of running. It's like, where is Christy amazing at? Rock climber, awesome grip, tremendous midline. It's one of the things she works on the most. And then she can run with the best of them. Outside of Tia, she's probably the second best runner in the sport. And
here's the thing: how many classic moments do we have Christy versus Tia in endurance events? And today she pushed her on a barbell event. I mean, yes, there was some running in that.
Yeah.
But for her to be right up there saying, Tia, you better pick this up, otherwise I'm taking this one from you, when there's a series of 5 barbells on the floor, that's a side of Christy that we haven't often seen before.
Mm-hmm. She looked like a much different athlete than we saw her at the Granite Games.
Completely agree. Was totally impressed with her and super happy that she's here.
Yeah, the one moment I wanted to, and I don't know if most people saw it, but the crowd definitely saw it, was Mallory O'Brien's save on the last parallel.
That was awesome.
That was...
I saw that, yeah.
The handstand walks have provided us with some of the most inhuman saves we've ever seen. Like Katrin Davidson on the steps, a couple...
2018 regionals.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
I think this puts that to bed.
Yeah.
This was something else. I mean, that was like 5 seconds.
So I was north-south on that, right? So I was looking right even alongside, flush with the parallettes. And the left to right wobble in her elbows and her shoulders, I couldn't believe it. Well, I thought it was gone.
I think I had the complete opposite view. She was directly in front of me, and I could see like a profile of her. And her midline looked like a pencil when you do that little pencil trick. And I'm like, there's no way. And she somehow pulled it together. And this is the kind of like mental fortitude that both her and Emma Carey are displaying at moments this weekend that makes me think that these are really, really special athletes that we're going to see compete. Like really understand what it means to compete. And in a moment like that, I mean, it blew my mind. I saw James Townsend after that, and I'm like, I don't think you can teach something like that. He's like, no way, man.
Yeah. And she did it right before, too. She did another save. It wasn't quite as extensive, and then she took a couple steps and fell. But even then, I think from that moment alone, if CrossFit doesn't work out, I think Cirque du Soleil is going to be giving her a call based on that save. Another one that also stood out, a scary moment for Laura Horvath. She fell. I thought.
I was standing with Christoph during that, and you could see like the fear of God in his eyes. Like he was like, "Oh my gosh!" And she shook it off and got back up and finished that. I think she salvaged the top 10 in that workout or something.
It was maybe 12th. Yeah, which she was 12th. She was this close to breaking her collarbone or separating her shoulder, and her weekend would have been done. Some guts for sure.
My shout out. I just want to give a shout out to Haley Adams, because she had a rough go on 6 and 7. She takes 25th and then 33rd. Falls out of the top 3. Was clearly upset that she couldn't even hit the first bar on that event. But then comes back and takes a 2nd in event 8 and then 8th place in event 9. So still inside the top 10. So you eliminate those 2 bad events, and she's only had 1 finish outside the top 10 to that point.
Yeah.
So to have the mental fortitude to like shake, like that's got to hurt a competitor for her, like her. someone who's, I think, pretty ferocious.
You
You want to talk about killer instinct? I think Haley, it's bubbling in there. Like it's gonna percolate over when she puts it all together.
And by the way, expect her to be in the mix on that event tomorrow morning.
Yes.
'cause she's amongst the best in the world, if not the best in the world at toes to bar, and she definitely can run.
And I think just to have the maturity to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to take my lumps here. Yeah, I'm going to fall out of the top 3, but I will be able to make this up later. We're not even, we're halfway through the competition. Plenty of points still out there, and she said that in the interview. I give her a lot of credit for that because she could have crumbled at that moment. That would have killed a lot of people.
For sure. And Annie was actually talking about it. She says, I've been in that position where that you can't hit the first bar of something heavy. And especially in this one, people are literally running laps around you as they come back from each bar. And it's demoralizing. A Spirit of the Games moment for someone who's already won Spirit of the Games. Emma Carey coming in off the run for one of the heavier barbells. Sam Briggs can't hit the first barbell. Sam Briggs is trying to gear herself up, sees Emma running in, turns, and instead of like focusing on her lift, like cheers her on, pumps her up, like gives her a fist bump and like a slap in the back, and is like, "Go get this last bar." It was awesome. There was a whole row of people right to the left of me that like stood up and started cheering after that. It was a really cool moment. It happened really quick, and you could see Emma like respond to it.
The number of stories I've heard this weekend alone about Sam Briggs being there for other competitors makes me think that eventually that award might need to be named after her. It's unbelievable how selfless she is in critical moments. I heard that also right before the swim. Emma Carey again was struggling to put her cap on. Sam Briggs came over, calmed her down, helped her out, got her ready for the event.
Amazing.
We already know Daniel Brandon was going to have to run that alone.
First person to volunteer
Sam
to do
Briggs
that.
said, no hesitation, I'll run with her. These kinds of things are things that she's been doing for a decade. And she's continuing to do it this weekend. It's really cool.
I think that would be a great homage to her when she decides to hang it up to name that award after her for sure.
Let's go to the men's side of the competition. If we're done with the women, anything else you want to add to that?
I think we should just acknowledge that there's going to be one more round of cuts in the morning.
Yes.
And there's a couple women sitting right on the cut line whose stories I think are worth telling.
Okay.
And in particular, it's Ariel Lowen and Bailey Rail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think by now people are familiar with the story of Ariel Lowen showing up to semifinals for the nameplate, ending up winning that competition. And if you watch her compete, she is having a blast. And I've been getting a lot of DMs of people saying, you got to talk about her because, she's a mom, she works full time, she trains, she does this for fun, and she's phenomenal. And if you haven't got a chance to watch her yet, watch her tomorrow in the first event.
Or just go watch them. Was it event 7 where she was celebrating after every bar, putting her hands up and just like sprinting out of the.
Yeah, and you see her smile on the finish line every time she crosses it. I mean, she's just a joy to have in the competition here.
Good
and
point.
Then you have Bailey Rail, who's never done a live in-person competition, individual competition, and she's sitting inside the cut line with one event to go.
And she had to get a backfill invite just to get to semifinals, I think it was.
Yeah, that's right. She was outside the top 120.
Yeah, if a few people don't decline their invite, then she doesn't even end up, going to the Atlas Games.
So it would be really cool if both of them are able to make it through. It's going to be tight. It's really tight on the cut line. It's always going to be. They have one event to go, but I hope that one, if not both of them, make it through.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you. That's why we have you on, so we don't forget this stuff. Okay, well, now I want to go to the men's competition because I am so fired up for the rest of this weekend. Like, for the first time in forever, like, I don't know who's going to win. I'm pretty confident that both Medeiros and Fikowski are going to wind up in the podium at this point. Medeiros is your overall leader, 744 points, 24 up on Brent Fikowski. Pat Vellner is back in third place, 33 points up on Saxon Panchak, who sits in fourth. He has 644 points. He's 20 points up on Alex Vigneault. 3 Canadians in the top 5, by the way. That's pretty impressive.
That has me suspicious. Anytime you have 60% Canadian population, raise an eyebrow.
Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson doing what he does. He's sitting there in 6th place. Jonakoski, who at one time was your leader, he's just 1 point back of Gudmundsson in 7th. And then Guy Maheros, 603. Sorry, my Portuguese isn't perfect, people.
I'm going to tell you.
I'm going to go down there, and you guys say all my names, and let's see how that turns out, all right? I'm just going to leave it at that.
I'll tell you how they say it. They say Eshan.
Yeah, well, that's not how you say it.
Maheros
So I'm going to write nasty
extremely
comments to you.
Dude, did you hear that? Did you hear the way he rolled that L?
Yeah, nice job.
It's
Anyway, let's move on. He's in
difficult.
5th. But seriously, like, really impressed by what he did today. And we'll talk about him.
Yep.
But now I got that out of my system.
Yep.
I'm I'm so fired up for the rest of this competition.
Oh,
I cannot wait. Great moment, Brent Fikowski winning that last event to put a little pressure on Justin Medeiros there. But let's talk about Medeiros right now, man, because he has not won an event, but he has never been lower than 15th, and that was event 2. But a 5th, other than the 15th, 11th, 2nd, 4th, 6th, 7th, 2nd, 9th. That's a very sort of straight on through performance that gets you to the top of the podium.
There's more to the story than the numbers with Medeiros, because if you haven't taken the time to watch him do some of these workouts and the way that he attacks at the right moment, it's not an amateur out there on the competition floor. It's a person who very much understands when to push and when to pull back. I thought the best example of this was the thruster wall ball workout, but then you saw what he did in event 6 today. Fikowski and Vellner were right ahead of him coming to that last bar, and the time cap was super, super tight. They both went for it and missed, and he walked up right between them and hit that bar. And top-end strength is generally not something you would associate with Justin Medeiros, but not only did he hit that bar under pressure, on the next workout, event 7, when the weights went up, I was like, okay, he's going to take a hit on this one, and he did not. And in the past, we've seen him lift some heavy bars with maybe not the best core integrity standing that up. He looked real solid through the midline and posterior chain standing up those cleans. And I think he is a scary guy to be in the lead right now.
Well, that's one of the things I think he has carried over from his time as a wrestler, right? You have to think about the tactics of that sport in particular. It's not a just go. Like some you can get by in wrestling just attacking, go, 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 go. But a lot of it is feeling out, reading your opponent, taking the time to evaluate, all right, when is the moment when I can get that advantage, when I can strike, when I can do this, do that. You know, the human chess match of grappling sports in particular, a lot of carryover from jiu-jitsu as well. And I think that mindset helps him critically evaluate his scenarios, especially in this very dynamic environment, which is the polar opposite of what he experienced his first time at the games. And that was one of the themes we were talking about at the desk today, is Medeiros podium finished last year, earned it, no doubt. But this is a completely different beast than what he's experienced before. 15 events with a majority of the time a full field, a full stadium, a much different schedule. You're not in a small bus being driven to and from these locations. You're a little bit more on your own. And how does he handle that, along with the focus from the spotlight, the sponsors, the media attention, the expectations, all of these things? And he has stepped into that role very, very well. And, you know, granted, we get to hang with the Medeiros crew all the time. I think that's a reflection of his character. I think that it hasn't really changed him at all. Like one of my favorite things about when we went up to train with him last year, just before the games. He couldn't have been more excited about the homemade sandwich that he had in between his training sessions, and I still see that same person that would be excited about a homemade sandwich. Like something about like that core integrity is intact, and I love it.
Yeah, he. I've played sports with a lot of guys who have wrestling backgrounds, and they just don't quit. They just don't get tired. They have a next level just mentality that because I think for them when they've competed in wrestling, it's like if I take a second off here, I'm getting pinned. Yeah. So it's like I have to keep it up here the whole time. Like I've just
mindset wise for sure.
Yeah, they just do not quit. Like it's and that's obviously serving him very well. But he's in first place, 744 points. Anything you want to add to Medeiros?
Well, I'm sure we're going to start to talk about some of the guys behind him. But the other thing that he's dealing with here is that the 6 guys directly behind him on the leaderboard have nearly 40 years of experience in the game.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So
dang,
it's a lot of guys with a lot of experience that he has to fend off here. But I'm with you. His mentality is ferocious. His physical attributes are there. I feel like it's coming together for him similarly to Laura Horvath, and he's riding that confidence. He's feeling really good. If you listen to his interview today, he said, "I'm willing to die for points in every event," and I think that's what it's going to take, because Fikowski and Vellner are not going to go away.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about those two, because Tommy and I mentioned this a little bit last night. But Brent Fikowski, who's sitting there in second place, he's only 24 points out. And we've seen that deficit get made up and then some in just a single event. He just looks different to me. And we mentioned, like, there's just something that is a little different about him. Would you agree with that, and why or why not?
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm not exactly sure how to pinpoint it, but I know that he is as dialed in as he's ever been. And to say that about a guy like Fikowski is, I think, quite significant, because we know how exacting he is in his approach to every aspect of his preparation and training. But I feel like somehow during this last 18 months, he's been able to elevate that even beyond what his previous expectations for himself were. And I know that he's here in Madison. He's not allowing anything to distract him from his goal.
Mm-hmm.
While other people are maybe doing some podcasts, interacting with some fans, having some fun. Going
Hey, let's not throw that haphazardly around like it's just some,
Brent's not doing any of that.
No, he's not.
He's not.
Deprivation chambers he's hanging out in.
He is singularly focused on the next event. And when he finishes one, he gets ready for the next one. And he's spoken very clearly. His intent this year is to win the games, and his actions back that up.
And I saw something out of him in that last event that I think is the product of something he's been working on for quite some time, and that doesn't come to him naturally. Is I think, Brian, you're talking about the high power output of that last event. He has typically struggled when it's time to kind of throw caution to the wind a little bit and just attack versus constantly analyze. And he is more the onboard system for Iron Man's suit. Than he is.
We have our first Marvel reference 40 minutes into the show.
Then he is Thor, swinging Stormbreaker. And tonight he needed a little bit of that Stormbreaker attitude, and that's what he had. He came out and led from the get-go. And we were in Shanghai last year at the Asia CrossFit Championships, 2 years ago, sorry. And I was sitting there with Nick Fowler, his coach, and Brent. And I was like, Brent, what's the biggest thing you're working on? And he goes, honestly, I know my nickname is the professor. I know I take a very cerebral attitude to all this, but I got to learn to sometimes just let the reins go.
Yeah.
And be comfortable with not being in control and tunneling that vision and using it accordingly. And that was tonight. Mm-hmm. And to use it for an event win when he had just ceded a decent amount of points to Justin and basically cut the lead in half. You talk about the point spread, 20-ish points, and that's how much he gained in just that one event, and he's very capable of earning that back.
Now let's go to Patrick Belmer. And sorry, I'm messing up there. Anytime I look at him and where he stands right now, it's like, why are you still so bad in the water? Like 35th in event one, but after that, 1st, 3rd, 7th, 1st, 9th, 11th, 16th, 5th. Like, if you throw that first event out, he's probably your overall leader right now.
A lot of times in statistical analysis, you'll throw the best and worst away.
Yeah.
I think Pat would be willing to get rid of one of those ones if he could ditch the 35 too.
And then he came into event one. I remember we were talking. Mike Arsenault spoke to him. And he gave a report. He's like, "Yeah, Pat just wants to finish middle of the pack." I'm like, "Great, that'd be 17th, awesome.
Yep,
good job. 35th, not going to cut it, but he has climbed out of the hole. But 677 points, certainly not safe. But Fikowski and Medeiros are the only two over 700, and he's 33 up on Saxon Panchak.
Well, here's the problem.
Do you think he still has a chance to win?
I do, but he can't afford any more mistakes.
Yeah.
Because when you have a 35th place finish like that, the small execution errors, you can't afford to have them. And he had two today that I saw. Event 6, missing that clean we already talked about right at the end. He was ahead of Fikowski, and he was ahead of Medeiros. And ultimately, he ended up finishing behind both of them because I think Fikowski had him on the tie break from the previous round. He didn't pass him until the run on the last round. And then in the handstand walk, he had too many mistakes. He kicked up 5 or 6 times and didn't make it across the barrier that he was going over and ended up taking a 16th, which is the second worst finish behind the swimming event. And those points are really valuable when you're trying to make up such a massive deficit early in the weekend.
That handstand walk event is something he should be top 10 in. He is
I was a little surprised that he did not do better at that event.
He's traditionally very good on his hands.
16th.
And like you said, he was actually towards the back half of the heat, I think, to start on the way down because he made a couple of mistakes coming to the turnaround point. And he made up some ground once he stood up and took a break and turned around. But still, like you said, a couple of those tactical mistakes it's tough.
Fikowski and Medeiros, they're not making those mistakes.
No.
So, and from here on in, if Pat wants to reel them in, he can't have any more.
All right. Whew. Saxon Panchak is in 4th. Saxon Panchak, not Scott. Not Scott. Saxon. 4th place, 644. Of course, Scott's dealing with the bum leg, but I think we're seeing the passing of the torch here of the Panchak brothers. Scott is retiring. Saxon he's arrived.
Oof. I don't think Saxon got enough credit for winning the Granite Games. We talked about it a little bit.
I agree with that.
Chandler got a lot of attention, and rightfully so. But it was almost like Saxon didn't do anything too flashy. But then you looked at the end of the week, and you're like, how did he win by that much? He doesn't. I don't think he naturally draws attention to him. Or not. That's a poor phrasing of that. Panchak has Scott Panchak has this fire about him, this intensity about him that attention naturally gravitates towards him. You saw that in his 2 events. Wins this weekend when he gets fired up. He has almost that football mindset, like you make a good tackle or you truck somebody,
He wants the spotlight on him.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's almost that intensity. It's unbridled a little bit at times, and Saxon doesn't have that. Saxon just kind of like, go, and you're like, wait, 4th, 3rd, 5th, what?
Yeah.
How are you here? And I mean, credit to him. I think some people maybe looked at his top 10 finish in 2019 and maybe thought, well,
yeah, that was 2019. That was a cut, so they had a different scoring. Yeah.
It was it was weird. And then they look at last year and like, okay, that makes more sense. Even though that was weird too. It was just weird in a different direction. And now we get to see the full scope, and we haven't seen him in this type of environment since his first qualification in 2018. And, given a little bit more leash and a more traditional games format, he's excelling now, and he's showcasing the improvement over the last 3 years.
The allusions to the 2019-2020 seasons, there's a lot of athletes that have questions to answer this year.
Yeah.
Because it's not anything against, they navigated the same circumstances as everyone else to earn those positions and those finishes, but this is different. There's a big field. There's a lot more events before anyone exits the competition, and so far the diversity of tests have been very impressive. And he's continued to answer the toll. His event finishes here mirror that of the Granite Games. Nothing flashy, nothing in the top 3.
Yeah,
but a series of top 10 finishes, and he's navigated the handstand walks. He's great. We know he's great with the barbell, just like Scott is. He's doing fine on some of the longer events. He's managing the grunt work stuff. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to stay in the top 5 throughout the weekend.
Yeah. To touch on something you said, I thought this was a huge legacy year for Vellner and Fikowski.
Absolutely.
They had very parallel seasons the last 2 years, and I think I hate to give any credence to the chatter online, but there was a lot of chatter online, like, oh yeah, they're done, north of 30, like 2 bad finishes in a row. Like, why are you talking about them? Why, you need to look at you need to look elsewhere. And they're very,
Well, we should say we were looking elsewhere. We were looking at them dominating the sanctional circuit for 2 years.
Yeah. But I think the fact that there wasn't like a standardized programming and there was a scattered at best media presence throughout the year, it hurt that, right?
Yeah.
Because when you had something like Dubai in 2019, which had a lot of hype and some coverage around it, you have the Rogue Invitational in 2019, big events. Well, who's winning those?
Fikowski, Vellner.
Yeah.
Vellner was only competed at Dubai, Wadapalooza, and Rogue, and he had nothing worse than second. 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and the only people who beat him were Fraser and Fikowski. We've talked about it before, and here he is. And the only guy ahead of him is Fikowski and Medeiros. And we talked prior to the games. Medeiros is still a question mark. We didn't know how good he really was. We haven't had a huge sample size with him. Obviously, he's in the mix, and he's a legit contender. So Vellner's still got it. Fikowski's still got it. But there's some guys that are creeping into the top 10 here that we did not know were going to be up there.
Yeah.
It's actually extremely exciting.
And that's where I want to bring in Majeros, working on it, who is in 8th place, 603 points. And it's big for a couple reasons. If he can just finish anywhere near the top 10, South America now has a legitimate contender or a guy they can rally behind. Because you and I got to see this firsthand, Tommy. The atmosphere down there and the way the fans are rallying behind their best athletes is pretty incredible. And if this kid is legit, and it looks like he is, and he can keep this up, like that is going to help grow that sport down there. And Chase articulated this on the broadcast. It's going to inspire more people to get into boxes. It's going to make it even bigger down there. And finally, Brazil is going to have someone who, it's not like, well, we got to put someone from South America into the game, so I guess it's this guy, and you're going to finish 38th. Like now this person is coming to maybe take a spot on the podium. Yeah,
I think the best finish ever from a South American male was like 35th, and it was Pablo Chalfun. Yeah. and no disrespect to Pablo, but It was because there was a smaller field that year because they had capped it at 40, and there was a couple of withdrawals. They hadn't any sort of success as individuals, and finally, it's not just someone cracking the top half, but the top 10. And he had some electric moments when he came into the Coliseum, heading toward the final barbell. And he was in the lead, and he started get up.
I like that.
He's
I like
playing
the flair from the youngster.
Oh yeah, I absolutely loved it. It's a little bit of situational awareness. It's tapping into the vibe of the venue there and utilizing it to the best of your abilities. And he's got some star potential from that. Brent Stover, our host for the CBS shows, saw Guy running away. Out the venue for the next run, and he goes, he looks like an NFL star type guy.
Yeah.
He's got the frame, he's got the look, he's got this thing about him. He carries himself with a little bit of bounce and a little bit of swag. That little crossing the finish line move that he pulled was awesome too.
Well, and he's got a tremendous support from Brazil. But he's winning the fans over here too.
Oh, for sure.
And I love that they called him back out after that event win and gave him the opportunity to speak to the fans there because
did a great job.
Yeah, first of
said
all,
all the right stuff.
Yep, including, and I love the way that he said it. He said, "I'm not here to participate. I'm here to compete," and that's what he's doing.
Right. And that's different. Like I said, that's just been different than any South American athlete. It's like they're here to kind of get some free swag and hopefully not finish lower than 30th.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the final heat for that event 7. When the leaders of the final heat went out for the final run, he had already been done with the workout. I mean, that was a dominating performance. And so you say, okay, great. Well, we know he can lift heavy weights. I mean, we saw him in 2018 snatch 290 pounds at 17 years old. Yeah. So that's nothing new. But then he comes back, and what does he finish in the handstand walk? Another top 10 finish. Then he comes back, power output event. He's still not the biggest guy in the field. 16th, very respectable.
That'll do.
Mm-hmm. And he caps out the day. He's still inside the top 10. And we've talked about it a couple times today. He's feeling great. Yeah. I don't know what his expectations coming into the weekend were, but I think if you told him he was going to be in the top 10 after 2 days of competition, he just said, "I'll take that."
Oh, 100%.
Oh, and now
I would say even the top 20. I'd be like,
and he's playing.
Good on you,
he's
kid.
playing with house money, and he's going to come into these events. Plus, he's a young guy. He's the youngest guy in the field. Recovery is going to be a little bit better for him than some of these other guys. I think he's going to feel a little bit fresher tomorrow because he's not new to competition. He's been here before. He's in different capacities, but he's been here before.
Right. Yeah, he's probably going to eat a truckload of meat.
Yeah,
because I watched him do as much at that steakhouse in 2018.
That kid's eyes got huge. It was like, it's all you can eat, kid. He's like, oh boy. A couple more things on the men's side, and we'll wrap this up because we're getting close to midnight here on Friday. It's Friday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, still Friday. What else stood out to you on the men's competition? And Brian, we'll start with you.
I think there's a couple of European guys that have really broken onto the scene this weekend that I'm really happy to see. Andre Houdet is sitting in 11th, Lazar Jukic in 14th, and Henrik Eppelainen in 16th. And we knew about Houdet and Jukic far more than Eppelainen. This guy, Henrik, I didn't know really anything about him. 16th is
good.
He's the lowest he's been so far on the weekend, but he's had a slew of top 10, top 20 finishes. He's, to a lesser degree than some of the other guys like the BKGs and the Panchaks, he's just been very consistent, and he's consistently thrown into heats with veterans of the sport, and he just keeps showing up and doing work. I think he's going to make the cut, and having 3 new faces from Europe is refreshing because for so long it's pretty much just been BKG, Jonakowski, and occasionally someone else jumping in and out like a Mundviolet or a Hogberg. So hopefully these guys are here to stay. I think of the 3 of them, Lazar Jukic is the youngest one. But I'm just excited because the women have been carrying the torch for Europe for so long.
Yeah.
So to have a little bit more depth on the European men's side this weekend is something I'm pretty stoked about.
Yeah. Royce Dunn, top 10.
Yeah.
Travis Mayer sneaking into the top 10.
Rig shaker Royce Dunn.
Yeah. Heaviest athlete in the
That's
field.
A large individual.
He is a
tall drink of water.
Oh, yeah.
There.
He's stout. He's fortified.
Bucking a pop.
Yep.
Is that what they say that?
Bucking a pop, yeah. 220. Yeah, both of those, Royce and Travis getting into the top 10, past the halfway mark. I know. Talking with Travis's his team, his coach. We've had him on the podcast. Yeah. He's like, Travis is just missing that one marquee finish for him to kind of like remind people that he's been
Yeah.
elite CrossFitter for a long time. And I'd be nice to see him climb a little bit more, maybe sniff the top 5. Hey, go full Trevor,
I mentioned the Scott Panchak thing. So he has now won 2 events in this competition, not being in the final heat.
Yeah, and
So which is pretty impressive.
And you consider his resume at the CrossFit Games, 7 career finishes of 6th or better, but in all that time, he's only won 1 event.
His rookie
until
year
this year
in
That was
2012.
the finale in 2012.
I say that to people like, no, that's not right. It's like, no, it's right. Look it up. 2012, Fran, last event he ever won.
And where's he sitting right now?
I think he's
13th.
13th on a bad knee.
I mean, basically, he just needs to get through the morning event tomorrow.
Right.
We
Just
know,
don't let
we know
that
from
one kill
talking
you.
to him, running and jumping are the 2 things that are hurting his knee. Lifting heavy is not hurting his knee.
No.
Moving heavy objects is
It's
not
that
hurting
impact.
his knee. Power output's fine. Yeah, it's just the output. So he just needs to hopefully hold on that one, because he's enjoying the weekend. He's attacking workouts. He's willing to take risks that he hasn't taken in the past because he knows it's his last ride.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's on 1.5 legs, and it's awesome to see him here. And I think he's actually really happy for his brother too.
Agreed. I think he might be enjoying that more than he's enjoying his performance.
Which is just amplifying his overall
sure.
experience this week for sure. Yeah.
All right. Any parting thoughts here before we
I would
move on?
I would say last thing, and I know that a lot of people are mixed opinions about this guy, but Jason Hopper is still sitting inside the cut line, despite what I would say is not having in his. Probably if you'd ask him, he hasn't had a single good workout yet, relative to what he'd
I would
expect.
agree. I mean, he fell apart on, was it event
5
5?
this morning.
Yeah.
And he's had a couple of events that were pretty bad. He does have like 4 top 10 finishes, so it's not like he's doing terrible across the board. You can't be within the cut line without doing something right. But I think more so than probably anyone this weekend, he is learning a lot.
Yeah.
100%.
If he's able to make the cut and finish out the weekend, I think that will be beneficial for him for his future in the
Definitely.
sport.
By virtue of the fact that he's 18th and he has 3 finishes 30th or lower, I mean, that tells you he's done enough to balance that out over the course of this weekend, while also making what you would call some rookie mistakes and how he's approached. I mean, the one this morning where he hit the jets a little bit too soon on that, like
Which was so strange because he did the opposite of that in every workout at semifinals.
It was almost like, I don't know. It's hard. It's something to obviously chat with him afterwards. But like he made a push like at the end of round 1 or that first one and jumped out to the lead, and it was almost like, there's 3 more rounds left.
Yeah.
And I mean that's something I do at the 8 a.m. class at CrossFit West. But that's because I'm working out with soccer moms, and I can afford to do that. I'm not competing for prize money, but I obviously I think it's something that maybe he can learn from and reach out to his team. I know he spent some time working with the Proven Crew in Nashville. Spent some time chatting with Fraser when he was out there in Vegas as well, and lean into those resources.
Yeah, he's incredibly raw.
Yeah.
He's learning a ton. He's making some mistakes, and he will go back, obviously, and refine a lot of that in the offseason. But I think it would go a long way for him if he could make it through tomorrow morning's event.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think, and this is the last thing I'll say about Hopper, and then we can say goodbye here. But happiness is measured by expectations, and I think the expectations on Jason Hopper, given what he did in the MAC, may have been out of whack, given that he is a rookie. So if you just knew nothing about this kid and said he's a rookie and he's inside the top 20, you say that's great, good for him. But it's the way that he got there and the people he beat at the MAC and the way that he did it where I think people elevated their expectations, and that's why there might be some disappointment. But just take a step back, and like you said, he's learning a ton. He is a rookie. Clearly has the talent.
If he makes it through the cut, he could still potentially be the highest-ranking male rookie in the field
Exactly.
coming into the weekend.
Right.
There's 3 guys ahead of him, but if there's 600 points left up for grabs and he has a chance to fight for that, and he ends up being the top-ranked rookie, that's still a tremendous accomplishment.
All right, that's going to do it because it's getting late and we gotta get some sleep because we got more work to do tomorrow. Individuals kick off, I think, at 11:15 local. Teams go at 10. Watch it on YouTube, Twitch, Pluto, nightly coverage on CBS Sports Network. I think starts at 11 Eastern. Could be wrong. Check your local listings. Also go to the CrossFit Games Instagram page. They still have the schedule up there. You have to search for it, but it is there of all the coverage. But yeah, you can watch us starting at 10 o'clock local time here. That's when the team action kicks off, and then 11:15 for the individuals. Want to thank our sponsor for today's episode, UCAN. They are The company obsessed with the science of health and performance. I'm trying to do like 9 different things here. Like you hear that old man groan.
That was an old man groan.
I'm also doing. I don't know. People are probably watching me age in front of their eyes. I'm like, oh no, here it goes. I'm trying to read my phone. I'm doing the old look down the.
You're squinting at your phone.
It might be time for some eyeglasses.
You go double size on the lettering on your iPhone.
Oh man, I have to get a Jazzy here soon. But UCAN is the company that's obsessed with the science of health and performance. It was originally created for a child with a rare metabolic disorder. Clinical studies determined that UCAN products help athletes maintain high levels of energy for extended periods of time. The studies determined that superstarch increases focus, prevents fatigue, and prevents the dreaded post-workout food binge. UCAN products, the ones you see in front of you here, like their bars and their powders, utilize superstarch, the patented slow-releasing complex carbohydrate that delivers steady, long-lasting energy without triggering an insulin response or an insulin dump. UCAN energy powders and energy bars are trusted by us. We love them. I am not going to make the mistake of not taking any with me tomorrow. I could have used that stuff today. They're trusted by more than 80 colleges, 40 pro teams, Olympic marathoners, elite triathletes, cyclists, group fitness coaches, thought leaders in health and performance, boxers, MMA fighters, and Scott Panchak and Emily Rolfe, 2 athletes competing here at the CrossFit Games. We mentioned Fee Sagafi, who unfortunately didn't qualify but did very well in the Last Chance online qualifier. Either go to their booth if you're here on site in Madison, check them out. They're fantastic people that make a great product, or go to ucan.co/elite. ucan.co/elite. Use the code ELITE to save 20% on your first order. Brian, thank you so much for doing this, man. We always love having you on because, again, you are the brains of the organization, clearly, and help class up the joint here a little bit.
It's always a pleasure. Love doing it with you guys.
Awesome. Tommy, good luck tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be seeing you until we get together here at night and do that. Good luck on the desk. I know the people are enjoying the coverage you guys are giving on Day of the Games and also on CBS. I enjoy watching it. I get to see a little bit when they put it up on the Jumbotron. Keeps me updated as to what's going on. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care of each other. Be better, and we will talk to you next time.